Mayor Grant, can you hear me? You should be able to unmute to talk to us. We're trying to promote you. Oh, there we go.
Hello.
Hi, Mayor.
How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. So you're going to join us at 9:30, correct?
Well, I'm going to join you at 9 virtually.
Right, but in person, 9:30?
Yeah, that is the plan,
Okay.
depending on traffic.
Okay, and then I'll mark you as absent when I do roll call, and then under modifications to the agenda, I'll note that you are joining us virtually, and then until you arrive in person. And then I don't think they'll have a problem with that, and then they'll admit you, and that's when you'll be counted as present for the meeting.
Okay. So I thought the virtual attendance, if I say present when it's my turn, means that I'm there after the board accepts that. Or if they don't accept it, then that's their choice.
Right. So they have to accept your attendance for it to be counted that you were here.
Got
for
it.
voting purposes.
Great.
Okay. If you have questions, let me know.
Will do. I'll be here.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye.
Yes, we start at 9. Does that sound good? I'm testing the volume if I sound too loud. Does that sound good, Margie, from you guys? Yeah? Okay. Yeah.
We're going to wait a couple of minutes until we get a quorum, so we have a couple of minutes.
What's going on in your town? Anything?
Oh my gosh, it's all excitement all the time.
Okay, I'm going to ask the members of the board to come on up. I think we have 11, so we can get this meeting going. I'm promising to get us out of here at 11:30, so work with me and I'll work with you. All right, I would like to call this meeting to order. The TPA Governing Board, the Palm Beach TPA, is conducting the meeting both in person and virtually using a Zoom webinar platform. Instructions to join the virtual meeting as well as contact information for assistance are provided in the published meeting agenda. I am now going to ask my good friend Mayor Wilson to give us the invocation. Following that, I will ask him to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Wilson.
Let us pray. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come to you once again with bowed heads and humble hearts. Thank you, as always, for your grace and your mercy. Realizing, Father, that over and over again, that through your grace and your mercy, you've been better to us than we've been to ourselves. And with that, we say thank you. Thank you, Father, for this minute this hour, this day, a day that we've never seen before. Father, we ask you in the most humble way, allow your wisdom to be upon us as we go about today's business. We ask you to send your spirit of love within us, Father, so that we can love each other the same way you love us, and that is without conditions. Thank you, Father, for your strength when we're weak, your compassion when we're down, your love when we're feeling hatred. Yes, Father, you're that bridge over our troubled waters. You're that doctor in our sick room. You're the lily in the valley. You're the bright and morning star. You're the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending. And with that, we say thank you. And finally, Father, we ask you for a special prayer to our chairperson. You know his heart. And all of us whom you have allowed to be assembled here today, realizing that we're no strangers to each other, just perhaps friends whom we have not yet met. We give you all the praises and the glory. And the people say, amen.
Amen.
Will you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Thank you as always, Mayor. It's always very refreshing to have your words to start our day. Can we have a roll call, please, Marjorie?
Yes, sir. So at this time, I am only asking board members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. And if you're an alternate here on behalf of a main representative, please state so. Steve Wilson. Yvette Drucker,
Here.
Andy Thompson,
Thankful to be here.
Stephen Grant, Julie Casale,
Here.
Joel Flores,
Here.
Jim Koretsky, Christopher McVoy, Joni Brinkman,
Here.
Catherine Waldron,
Here.
Melissa McKinley, Maria Marino, Maria Sachs,
Commissioner Bernard on behalf of Commissioner Maria Sachs.
Greg Weiss,
Here.
Shirley Lanier, Fred Pinto, Michael Napoleon,
Here.
Christina Lambert,
Here.
Joseph Paduzzi, Chelsea Reed, here, Robert Weinroth.
I am here.
We have a quorum in person, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Do we need to check to see if there's anybody online for a virtual?
Yes, sir. I do have Mayor Grant is joining us virtually until he arrives in person, and he is already on the line.
Mayor Grant, are you there?
Mayor, you should be able to unmute on your end.
All right, we'll
Yes,
defer.
I'm here.
He's there? Okay,
Yes.
good. All right, then I'm going to, unless I have an objection from anybody assembled here, I'm going to allow Mayor Grant to participate virtually. Do I have any objections? Seeing no objections, Mayor Grant will be allowed to participate. Thank you. And again, thank you, everybody, from getting in here on time today. I think the 9 o'clock is going to work well. And as I said, I promise to get us out of here by 11:30 if you cooperate. Okay, now I'm looking for a motion to adopt well, first of all, do we have any modifications to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chair, it was only to allow Mayor Grant in, so we don't have to adopt a motion.
Very good. Then I'm going to look for a motion to adopt the modified agenda.
So moved.
Okay, I have a motion by Vice Chair Reed, a second by Mayor Flores. All in favor, all opposed, show that as being approved unanimously. Okay, general public comments. Members of the public are invited to give us their input. Do we have any cards from the public, Margie?
No, Mr. Chair.
Okay, then we will move on to the next item. I'm going to keep my comments very short. There's a lot going on. Obviously, you've seen the news as far as Brightline and the safety issues there. I think that Brightline is going to probably be taking some initiatives as far as bringing the attention of our riding public to the fact that driving around a gate is probably not a wise thing to do. All of the accidents that have occurred have been as a result of people disregarding the gates. I think that from my own personal perspective, this last one points to an issue that maybe needs to be addressed. This was an issue, not that the driver was foolhardy for having gone around the gate, but this was after a freight had just passed by, and sometimes the bright line is coming right behind it or going in the opposite direction. And we may have to evaluate whether the no horn philosophy might need to be waived in a situation where two trains are hitting the same crossing at the same time, to give that extra bit of warning to drivers that are already sitting there, especially after a freight, and getting frustrated that they don't go ahead and jump the gate and find themselves in the same situation as yesterday. Thankfully, that driver actually survived the crash, and we can only hope that some of our other residents take heed and stop trying to jump the gates. And we'll talk more about that in the future. I'm sure Brightline will want to make a presentation to us. Let the record show that Commissioner McKinley has joined us, and Mr. McVeigh has also joined us. Okay. Vice Chair, do you have any comments?
No, but I echo your comments, and Valerie and I had an opportunity to speak yesterday with Brightline, and they are addressing it, and we look forward to hearing more from them.
Any other member who would like to have comment? Mayor Wilson, it's
Yeah,
always refreshing.
Mr. Chair, years ago when we first had this conversation about whether we have the noise ordinance, and there were people concerned about that. Now it's a matter of saving people's lives. And so if it's a matter of making that tweak to make that happen, I think that's the most important thing. Imagine you have two trains in one pass. Most typical people would think, okay, it's gone, and they're gonna go across, and then you got Brightline coming. I mean, the humanistic thing is go ahead and request, make that tweak, because this is not the first time this happened, and it won't be the last until we start taking some action with Brightline to put it in place. Although it may be a noise problem for some folks temporarily, but it's gonna save lives as well.
And thank you, Mayor, for your comment. And I think in my conversations with Brightline, they're ready to give up on quiet zones and just blow the horn, as often as they need to. So I think we need to evaluate. And again, I think there'll be a conversation for another meeting. Anybody else like to make a comment? Seeing no further cards up, we're going to move on now to our interim executive director's report. Ms. Nielsen?
Good morning, everyone. It's an honor and pleasure to be here with all of you. There's a lot of exciting things coming up that I'm going to touch on here in the interim executive director's report. One, I'd like to congratulate the city of Delray Beach on doing a Vision Zero resolution they did on February 1st to commit to the goal of zero traffic related fatalities and serious injuries. One of our goals in our Vision Zero action plan is to get more municipalities to join us in these efforts to really have safety be our priority on our transportation system. So congratulations and thank you. Tomorrow is our Safe Street Summit. We're really excited for that. It's an annual event that we put on with the Broward and the Miami-Dade MPOs. I look forward to those who will be joining us, and we'll report back on that. I know that originally there was going to be a board member event, a more intimate event this evening, and that was canceled due to the rise in cases of COVID. However, we are working with the Miami-Dade TPO to plan a mobile day to go down and learn from them and make up for that missed opportunity. So stay tuned. Just a reminder, the TPA's transportation grant, our annual grant program deadline is this Friday. We kicked this off, the grant application window, in October, but we are looking forward to applications from our local municipalities and our transit agencies and partners to help fund their projects. There's a flyer on the dais for our Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board public workshop. We have a meeting coming up on the 23rd, a quarterly meeting, and then after that, there's a hybrid public workshop for anyone who would like to join or help us promote that for public participation. March is Florida Bike Month. We're going to be hearing a little bit more of that later, but we're encouraging all our local municipalities to join us again in doing a proclamation and celebrating bicycling. Also, we're doing a bike ride. There's a flyer on the dais for that on March 11th. Please join us if you can. It'll be really exciting. Brightline is actually launching their bike share in downtown in early March, and we'll be having some of those bright bikes for our ride. So hope you can join us for that. There's also a statewide Love to Ride challenge with teams that your municipality can compete, or your agency. So we look forward to a friendly competition there. On March 1st, we're doing a webinar with Holland and Knight with our political advocacy experts to give an overview and talk about the infrastructure law and as it relates to transportation funding, the impacts of the TPA and our local municipalities, if you'd like to join us for that. Another local grant opportunity is the AARP community grants. Those are small grants for quick action projects that can be quick build, other types of mobility projects. So we encourage you to apply for that. The deadline for that is March 22nd. We're doing, you might have seen it on the opening presentation, but we're going to be sending out more information on this. We're doing an in-person panel event here at the TPA on March 31st from 10 to 12 on mobility and economic development. So we'll have local experts speaking on that. We'd really love for you to join us. There will be a Zoom link, but we're doing it in person with Brightline, with Related, with the BDB, with the DDA, and also Circuit, which is the local first last mile circulator here in downtown. So hopefully you can join us for that. I mentioned the RAISE grants. We're going to hear more about that in that infrastructure webinar. The NPOAC Weekend Institute is one of our strategic plan, encourages our board members to participate in this. We can fund our board members to go to that training, and that's coming up. And there's an opportunity in Orlando, April 22nd to 24th, and then in Tampa, May 20th to 22nd. So if anyone is interested in attending that, please let us know. And as a reminder to follow up on that, we do encourage our board members to attend transportation conferences, and we encourage you to visit our website /conferences to see upcoming conferences coming up in this year related to transportation, MPOs, and planning, and let us know if you would like to attend any of those conferences. We have them, all the ones that we're aware of that are relevant to us are listed on there. And lastly, I know he's not here in person. He'll be here soon, but he's on the phone. Mayor Grant, we're aware that this may be your last meeting with us, board meeting, and we wanted to just note we're so grateful for your service and your time at the TPA since April of 2016, and you also served as the chair of our TD-LCB since March of 2018. We're sad to see you go, but very happy for you and grateful for everything that all your time and efforts that you've committed to the TPA and to the city of Boynton Beach in advancing our vision of a safe, efficient, and connected multimodal transportation system. Since your time at the TPA, we've adopted a complete streets policy, complete streets design guidelines, our Vision Zero policy and action plan, and the city of Boynton Beach also adopted a mobility and complete streets plan and Vision Zero policy. So we thank you for your leadership and your time with the TPA. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much for that report. Anybody have any questions from that report?
I do have Mayor Grant with his hand raised.
Okay, Mayor.
Thank you so much for the recognition. It's truly been an honor to move our county forward into the future through transportation, from the Metropolitan Planning Organization to the strategic plan, to be on the MPOAC board, and just to travel the country to visit the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organization conference in Baltimore, the Florida Public Transportation Association in Daytona Beach last year. The three things that I'd want to remind the board is that the Florida statute 334.44 section 26, that it is in our code that we protect the environment when we're expanding our roads, that we invest in the landscape that is going to help reduce all the carbon emissions that we have for transportation. Would be Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, where it is entitled Environmental Justice, that no federal funding is ever used for the discrimination of people in our county. And the last is to make sure we are doing what we can to prevent any road traffic victim. I saw in the New York Times article on February 15th that traffic crashes is surging. As my ride here today, I've already seen 3 accidents, and we need to do what we can to have people slow down and make our roads safer. So thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to serve Palm Beach County.
Thank you, Mayor, and we certainly are going to miss you, and drive safe on your way into the meeting.
Absolutely.
Okay, one last comment from the chair, just to refresh your recollection. We have a search firm engaged at this point in time. Slavin Management Consultants may be reaching out to any members of the board to have your input as to the search for an interim director, and please give them your cooperation. Commissioner McKinley, sorry I overlooked you.
That's okay. Commissioner Weiss and Todd Von Laren and I just spent nearly a week in Washington, and I just want to comment on Mayor Grant's comments that, Secretary Buttigieg and Michael Reagan, who's the administrator of the EPA, both really echoed the same comments that Mayor Grant just made. And, I serve on the EPA's Local Government Advisory Committee. I also serve on their subcommittee for environmental justice. We will be releasing a letter today with the committee's recommendations on the infrastructure bill. And that is a primary component, is making sure that our infrastructure projects aren't to the detriment of our communities that have traditionally suffered at the hands of infrastructure improvements. And with the focus on federal relationships, I also would like to take a point of personal privilege and recognize Ryan Nautic, who is our regional director from our U.S. Senator Rick Scott's office, and appreciate him being here this morning.
It's always great to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any more comments? I see no more. Ms. Nielsen.
I circled it on the director's report and I skimmed over it. I just did want to highlight that the FRA and Brightline are doing a safety town hall workshop for grade crossing on February 23rd next week from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Boynton Beach Police Department Community Room. And this is to gather all the parties and stakeholders to talk about this issue and how we're going to address it. After that workshop, my understanding is that their plan is to have one-on-one meetings with all the municipalities along the corridor and really try to tackle this issue. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention, and I apologize for skipping over that earlier.
Very good. Would you just make sure that a note goes out to everybody so that we have that? All right, time to move on to the consent agenda. Does any member want to remove any, let the record show that my good friend Commissioner Marino has joined us. Any member would like to remove any item from the consent agenda? Seeing nobody rushing to put their cards up, I'm going to look for a motion to approve the consent agenda. I have a motion by Mayor Flores.
Second.
I have a second by Councilman Napoleon. All in favor, all opposed, show that it being approved unanimously. All right, consent agenda is behind us. We are going to just fly through this agenda. Action items 2A. Who's going to make a presentation?
Need to click the slide so I can move forward.
We have Jason
So-
Price, our Transportation Improvement Program TIP coordinator, who's going to present this item, which is an amendment to our TIP. Let him take him away.
All right. So today I'm going to be presenting amendment number 3 to the Transportation Improvement Program. And that includes 6 total projects, the deletion of 1 project at the request of the town of Jupiter, and the addition of 6 projects at the request of FDOT. As a reminder to the group, this is an action item and it will require a roll call vote at the end of the presentation and discussion. Now, amendments are triggered by certain actions, and in this case, there's an addition and a deletion of projects, which requires an amendment to the Transportation Improvement Program. And as always, by taking action today on these amendments, only the projects listed in the amendments are impacted and no other projects are affected. So moving on to the first project with the town of Jupiter, that's Indian Town Road from US 1 to A1A. This project is being deleted from the Transportation Improvement Program at the request of the town of Jupiter. And the town council has expressed concern over the overlapping schedule of this project with the US 1 bridge reconstruction detour happening in Jupiter. With this, the town's council concern is with both of these projects happening concurrently. There's a concern with the bridge detour being extended if there is any delays in this project, which would negatively impact traffic. The town council moved to not award the construction contract, therefore requesting the TPA to remove this project from the TIP document. The next project is at the request of FDOT, and this is a new project that would be added. This is a safety project with funds for the design phase for wrong way driving detection at high priority locations along I-95 in Palm Beach County. There's a total of 9 locations, and these were selected by central office and FDOT and provided to District 4 to begin the design phase for these particular locations. They're listed on the screen here, and they are High Paluxo Road, Linton Boulevard, 45th Street, North Lake Boulevard, Palm Beach International Airport, Atlantic Avenue, the Belvedere Road Signal, and lastly, 10th Avenue North. The next few projects are on the next 2 slides, and they are a collection of transit projects. And these are transit projects that provide funding for 2 private nonprofit organizations providing transportation services to seniors and people with disabilities. The funding is part of the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act and American Rescue Plan Act. The 5 projects listed here provide capital assistance for the purchase of transit vehicles, as well as for the Mae Volan Senior Center, as well as operating funds for both the Mae Volan Senior Center and MacTown operating in Palm Beach County. This is the balance of the projects, the last 3 of the 5 projects. And with that, that's the presentation on all of the projects listed in this amendment. And we're looking for a motion to adopt amendment number 3.
Thank you, Jason. We appreciate it. Vice Mayor Weiss, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. Can you describe what the plan is for the wrong way drivers, what that looks like? And also, do you have any data on how often that occurs when they're not impaired?
So the first part, in terms of what is it, it is advanced warning and detection systems that are implemented when you approach a ramp in the wrong direction. That'll include, as I understand it, flashing signals to indicate that you're going the wrong way, in addition to signage. And I've been told that there is a communication to the law enforcement that somebody is traveling down the wrong way on a ramp and will approach the highway. So that's the technology involved. And depending on the layout of the roadway, what I've seen in the past is oftentimes the approach for entering and exit the highway is immediately adjacent to one another. So you could choose the wrong ramp if you're either distracted, impaired, or just, lack of visibility of choosing the wrong ramp when they're immediately adjacent to one another. Your last question was, can you repeat that?
How often does it
And
occur
I'm-
when
I'm
somebody's not impaired?
And excuse me for interrupting, but I do have John Crane from FDOT on the line with his hand raised to address Commissioner Weiss, or I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Weiss.
Would you yield Commissioner Weiss to,
Of course.
of course.
John?
Hi, good morning. John Crane, District 4 Planning and Environmental Administrator. So just to give a little context to this, Andrew's right? Central office had been looking at wrong way crashes statewide and allocated funding for creating these. In District 4, we went out and did a visual inspection of all the interchanges in our district and prioritized those where the potential to make a left turn at a ramp, where so you have an on and an off ramp right next to each other and a median opening, where that existed. We prioritized those first to try and correct that situation. And then we first looked at projects where we had existing projects ongoing where we could incorporate these changes as part of that project. And so as those projects get moved into existing projects, we're looking to go back and address these specific locations in an individual basis. So it's kind of a scrolling list potentially. If we have another project that can incorporate some of these, we may add another location that was less obvious, right? So there are certain locations where the movement is much less possible to make, but still we want to go back and treat those as well. So we're going to be looking at all the locations where this is a possible treatment throughout our district. And in regards to how often it happens, you know, I can certainly get you that information. I can send it to Andrew and we can make a report at a future time. Right now, we're starting to track the actual incidences on a monthly basis. So we could provide that to you. It's not super frequent, but it's frequent enough, right? Once is too many. So.
And obviously, when it happens, it's usually devastating.
Yeah.
Is there a warning that will then be signaled to the drivers that are coming off the highway to let them know somebody's coming the wrong way?
So what would happen is as a driver enters the wrong way, there will be, as Andrew or Jason suggested, sorry, I said Andrew, when flashing lights will occur on the ramp. It will detect that a vehicle is moving in the wrong direction. And I believe that there will be communications to the operations center that will also inform the FHP that this is going on. Drivers that are actually on the road won't necessarily be informed of this, right? This is more of a driver informing error so that before they get to the end of the ramp, they know that they're going the wrong direction, stop and turn around.
It seems like you'd want to alert the drivers that are exiting and give them a fair warning.
Well, I imagine there's a very short time frame and window of opportunity to take the right action. And it may actually incorporate that. I can check into the standard treatments that we're incorporating, but there may be a dynamic message sign at the gore point of the ramp also that would alert drivers that we're coming. I don't know that it doesn't include that.
But we'd certainly appreciate some clarification on that for the future. Vice Mayor, anything further?
No.
Council Member Brinkman?
Yeah, I had some questions about the 10th Avenue North because I know how it functions today. So when you say southbound, I guess you meant if someone's heading west, they would actually turn on the northbound exit ramp and go the wrong way south. But I thought we were doing a divergent diamond on there. So I don't know how. I thought the divergent diamond was hopefully going to avoid this type of thing. So maybe if I can just get some more information as when the divergent diamond is actually implemented, how this is going to interact with that. It's kind of confusing. Thanks.
Okay.
Certainly.
Did you have a comment on that?
I'll follow up.
Very good. All right. I don't see any further cards up. Let the record show that Mayor Grant is now in person versus virtually. He has successfully found his way here on our roads. Okay. Do we have any comments from the public on our consent agenda? I'm sorry,
on-
on our action item, motion.
No, Chair, no
Okay.
public comments.
And as was indicated by Jason, this is going to be a roll call vote. I'm going to look for a motion. Motion by Commissioner Marino,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner McKinley. And now we will have a vote. Margie, would you please call the vote?
Yes, sir. Steve Wilson,
Yes.
Yvette Drucker,
Yes.
Andy Thompson,
Yes.
Stephen Grant,
Yes.
Julie Casale,
Yes.
Joel Flores. Jim Koretsky is absent. Christopher McBoy. Joni Brinkman,
Yes.
Catherine Waldron,
Yes.
Melissa McKinley,
Yes.
Maria Marino,
Yes.
Mac Bernard,
Yes.
Greg Weiss,
Yes.
Shirley Lanier. Fred Pinto is absent. Michael Napoleon,
Yes.
Christina Lambert,
Yes.
Joseph Paduzzi,
Yes.
Chelsea Reed,
Yes.
Robert Weinroth.
Yes.
It passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pierce. We're going to move on to item number 2B. And I'm going to have Andrew make the presentation.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'll be presenting on the federal performance measure targets for 2022. And we are required as a metropolitan planning organization to adopt federal targets for these performance measures. One of them being safety. That's one that we have to adopt annually. And so we were required to do that by February of each year. So that's why we're coming to you in February this year. And what we're required to set targets for, adopt targets for, are the number of fatalities, the rate of fatalities, which is determined by 100 million vehicle miles traveled, the number of serious injuries, which are those that are incapacitating injuries, the rate of those, and then the total number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So those are pedestrians and bicyclists. And so for historical background, what we've adopted in the past for previous targets, AFDOT has set a statewide target of 0 fatalities on our roadway system, determining that no death is acceptable. And the TPA has also adopted the target of 0, starting in 2018 and then continuing every year since 2021. And then also, when we first adopted Vision Zero, you all tasked us with creating a Vision Zero action plan, and that was adopted in 2019 that has actions that what an MPO can do to start moving towards this Vision Zero target. And then we readopted a Vision Zero action plan in 2021. So looked at how we were evaluating our actions there and then have new actions, and we're moving towards that as well. And there's more information on our website at palmbeachtpa.org/safety. And so I want to go through 2 slides. This show some of the trends we're seeing previously with the new release data. This first one is the total fatalities within our county in a bar graph. So on average, we lose 180 lives annually. So that's from 2017 to 2021, our 5-year rolling average. And what you see in the chart here is the year to year from 2017 to 2021. And then that 5-year rolling average, we are continuing to trend upward here in the county, but also at the state and national level when it comes to fatalities. Also in the bar graphs, you'll see when we first adopted just local policies at the MPO level with our Vision Zero, or with the targets in 2018, and then our Vision Zero action plan, and then the readoption of that in 2021. And then also not shown on this graph, but other movements that are happening, those conversations that are happening at the national level and at the state level, moving towards Vision Zero. So the discussion's starting to shift, and there's been a greater focus on safety because of this epidemic. And we're starting to see that discussion and the policy and the design change. This next one's a little bit more elaborate. It shows the same information for fatalities from the previous slide, but this shows those performance measures that we're required to report on. It's fatalities, fatality rate, the serious injuries, serious injury rate, and then the non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And it's going from 2017 to 2021. What we're seeing with preliminary data for 2021, those final numbers aren't finalized, but I provided updated numbers that I pulled yesterday again from Signal 4 Analytics, showing that we are continuing to go up in our fatalities year over year. So 206 so far showing in that data for 2021 and went up from last year as well, 184. So trending in the wrong direction when it comes to fatalities and the rate as well as the serious injury rate. What we did see is some reduction in serious injuries the past few years, and then also the total of those for non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. So that's good to see. They're sort of staying a little bit more flatline, but they are reducing a little bit preliminarily for those. And then what the staff is bringing to you today is reaffirming that Vision Zero target. So we recommend for 2022 to have 0 fatalities and serious injuries as our targets. This readopts what you all adopted from 2018 to 2021. And this also aligns with the state's adoption of Vision Zero targets for 2022. And this is in the premise that no death is acceptable, and moves and tries to shift this focus towards the Vision Zero principles that traffic deaths are preventable, and that integrating human failing and approach, trying to have a safe systems approach to how we design and create policy for our roadways, and that saving lives is not expensive. And this is my last slide for you. What are we doing about it right now? Just a small update on that. We've been implementing this Vision Zero action plan and then providing more resources to local municipalities as well. And we've had a few municipalities here establish Vision Zeros in their communities with resolutions, and they're moving towards implementation themselves and how they can change policy and how they tackle safety at the local level. And that includes West Palm Beach, Boynton Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Delray Beach, which was just recently, and then also Palm Springs. We also are hosting another Vision Zero workshop this spring to have more resources, and it's going to focus more on some of the new things coming out of federal government with a safe systems approach and then also funding. Revising our TPA committees to add safety partners, which is something on the agenda today. And then we also prioritize safety in all of our TPA funded projects. So when we have our list of priority projects for our state roads, our local initiatives and transportation alternatives, safety is a big component in how we prioritize those projects. And then lastly, the TPA is hosting a webinar coming up on March 1st, which is going to go over the new infrastructure law. And a lot of the components in the new infrastructure law have additional funding towards safety and Vision Zero. And so we're going to have more information during that webinar. That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. And I'll make my usual comment on Vision Zero, which is we don't have Vision Zero here. It's not safe to ride a bicycle in our county. That's the real answer. And we just mowed down another pedestrian in Boca Raton just last week. And it's difficult to look people straight in the eye and say we have Vision Zero in this county. We have to be committed to doing something with our infrastructure. And I don't know what that answer is other than separating our bicyclists from motor vehicles. Other than that, there's really no way to make them safe. That being said, I'll call on Mayor Flores for the first comment.
Yeah, I think we should always protect our residents, but I think what I would like to see, feels like it's loud, is a more detailed report. It doesn't have to be presented here, but maybe go out to all of us, and even the municipalities, and kind of drill down. Commissioner Wise made a comment earlier about, are these, drunk driving related, people driving on the wrong side of the road? Are these accidents happening, during traffic hours? I know we're not going to be able to identify everything through that, but I think it'll help us have a better understanding at some areas that individual cities can attack if it's under their control, or start working with different agencies to make sure that we address some of those. Obviously, I know that pedestrians, we need to do better. We've identified here in this board how some of the sidewalks are obstructed. So I think that's upon us. I think municipalities to work to free sidewalks. I think we should do better with protecting our cyclists. But if we have a better idea as to what areas we can, I guess what I'm asking for is more data, a little bit more of a drill down report. Once again, it doesn't have to be presented here at every meeting, but maybe something that goes out to the entire board once a month, every couple of months or something. So.
Thank you, Mayor Flores. Mayor Wilson.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. There are a couple of few new faces in here, and I recall back in 2017, Mr. Chair, you were outvoted. You were the only one that didn't believe in that concept of zero vision. I tend to think that you had it right to some degree. It's not realistic. As I noticed and seeing these numbers will continue to go up, one of the concerns that I have to the board members here is that it's disappointing, and it's not any knock on FDOT or anybody, but we have to wait. We do these studies that determine how many more accidents to take care of safety measures. If you already know that these are some things that need to be in place, why allow and wait till things to happen? People have to die before we put it in place. Then you wonder why the numbers are going up. You already know that it's an issue there, but you want to make sure you get the numbers right to see how many more accidents got to occur before you make those changes. And eventually you end up making the changes. So why don't we maybe think a little different, think outside the box? And if you know it's an issue, go ahead, Mr. Chairman, board member, let's address it then. Then you don't have to worry about somebody, another number adding to the fatalities. That's the way we got to start thinking about this, not wait and do these darn studies. Yes, we can do them, but at the same time, at the end of the day, if more people dying, you're going to end up doing it anyway. So I just think change of philosophy sometime. If you want to get this zero vision, which is really not realistic, the only way we're going to get there, we got to start doing some things different.
Thank you, Mayor Wilson. Mr. McVoy.
Thank you. I speak as a bicyclist and transportation bicyclist rather than recreational. And with a wife who I'm trying to encourage to be a bicyclist. And she says, you know, what a lot of us say, that's great. I'd love to. And you all in Lake Worth talk about walkable, bikeable city and so on, but I'm not going out on the roads. And I did send around to the group or asked to be the article that I believe Mayor Grant referred to from the Times, or somebody did, that pedestrian fatalities are going up citywide and nationwide. And there seems to be a higher level of anger among drivers, which is an element of this, I think. I hear the comments, I hear the concern about not calling it vision zero, but it is vision zero. I think it is very important to keep that emphasis on this is our goal. But I would agree with the comment, let's be looking at all possible ways to help. I just learned that one of the studies that TPA, I believe, helped fund is to lower the speed limit in Lake Worth on Federal Highway. We've been trying to get that done from 35 to 25 for a long time. Little pieces help, but you know, I agree. Let's not study, but let's do look at what are things. An easy one is biker education is a piece of it. If you're out biking at night with no lights and dark clothes, well, you know, that's something we need to work on at a community level of education. We have some angles there. Let's work all the angles to keep it safer.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor.
All right, well, I have a nationally ranked Ironman husband who probably spends about 18 hours a week on these roads. I have a couple of things I want to mention. So not only has FDOT adopted Vision Zero, but the U.S. Department of Transportation, or USDOT, released its national roadway safety strategy saying zero is the only acceptable number of deaths and serious injuries. So it's not just us, it's not just the state of Florida, it's our nation. 12% more people died in crashes the first 9 months of 2021 compared to the same period in 2020. It's the highest 9-month increase since the United States Department of Transportation started tracking in 1975. And it's a crisis that can be prevented. So if we're losing 180 lives annually in Palm Beach County, I don't think we're doing our jobs, but I do know that there are things we can do. Vision Zero needs credible speed limits, high visibility enforcement, targeted reporting of crashes, which I think the TPA is doing a really good job with that, truly complete streets. And we need to make our roads safe for our residents. We always have to remember that 880 rule. Are you 8 or 80? Can you be on our road and feel safe? Most of those cannot. We need to think about even our vulnerable road users, or my husband and his spandex on a Sunday. So this is up to us, but he looks great. Thank you. kudos to my husband. So, but nonetheless, but there are things we can do here as TPA board members. So our city has a project coming up where we use the TPA grant, the Transportation Alternatives Grant, to make a separated two-way bicycle track for Burns Road, which is where we have a park, where we have our city hall. So many people use it. Now they're going to be able to use it safely on a two-way separated bike track. So we have the tools. As much as we can sit here and wring our hands and say we need to do something, it's right here. It's right here in all of the funding that's available at TPA. And it might be little pieces, but eventually if we all work together, we can connect it together by using the grants, by making the differences. We also can do things, for example, on Prosperity Farms Road, it's up for repaving. We just approved it, but I asked for it to be looked at by engineering to make a separated bike lane. If we're going to spend, I can't remember, was it $2 million, 20, I don't know, millions of dollars to repave Prosperity Farms, why do it again? Why do it wrong again? We have the ability as board members to say, take a look at this before we keep making the same mistake. So as much as I agree, yes, we need to do it. We can. The roadmap is here and the TPA has given it to us. So I encourage us all to do it together. And the last thing I'll say is Leah Shahum, who's the founder and director of Vision Zero, had this wonderful quote where she said, when people get in a car, we say drive safe, but we don't do that with other everyday civilian life routines, because as a society, we've acted to make sure that activities are safe. So when you go to a restaurant, you don't say eat safe, because food safety laws were put in the 20th century. So let's think about it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And, I think as we heard Mayor Grant talking about considering environmental issues every time we do a project, we need to, each time we have a project in front of us, looking at the safety issues and making sure that we're protecting our pedestrians and non-motorized travelers on the roads. And with that, I will recognize Mayor Grant.
Thank you, Chair. The aspect of Vision Zero is to be proactive instead of reactive. The government has years past been reactive, where they didn't create the traffic light before the intersection. It was the intersection first, and then they realized so many people were getting to accidents that they created the traffic light. And that is where we had a determination last year that we need to look at every single fatality that comes here in Palm Beach County. And in May of 2021, we saw what happened over on Indian Town Road, that there were no shades on those traffic lights. And someone just ran a red light and there was no penalty because they said, I couldn't see that it was a red light. And that is something where we're trying to figure out, okay, how many other east-west roads do we need to put this shade on the traffic lights because the speed is over 40 miles per hour? I don't have that answer where the county and state are, but that's something that we need to get that understanding and be proactive, that the amount of expense for a shade on a traffic light compared to the loss of a life is not comparable. The second thing, as we mentioned with the pedestrian and bicycle safety, it is, May of 2021, we removed a program from the tip of the Boynton Beach Boulevard I-95 interchange because they had a buffered bike lane on a 40-mile-per-hour road through a 95 intersection. And I said, that does not seem very safe for the bicyclists to have to worry about cars watching them versus being safe on a separated path. And that's where I'm glad this board for Atlantic and Jog, we made that determination that we are not considering any new intersections for FDOT without a safe place for our bicyclists. And that's kind of my mentality, is that it has to be proactive. We have to, I guess, get better data, because the quarterly report that we got, we're not getting enough of it. And hopefully this board, as part of the Vision Zero, can request that our TPA does a bi-monthly report, so that it is something that we get on a regular basis, because sometimes we don't have meetings and we miss, and then the agendas stack up. And then it kind of dovetails into our item C, but I'll reserve my comments for that advisory board then. But it is a proactive statement for Vision Zero, And that's kind of where we have a vision of this agency, is to be safe and efficient and connected multimodal transportation system. We do not say an adequate multimodal transportation system.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Marino?
Thank you and good morning. I was late because there was a 5-car accident on PGA Boulevard with one car flipped on its side. So what I'd like, and Chelsea touched on it, is we have tools in place, and maybe we should be spending more time on making sure that we're enforcing the laws that we have in place, that speed limit laws, holding a cell phone in your hand while you're driving laws. So maybe we should spend a little bit more time talking to the people that have can enforce these laws than a lot of other things that we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Marino. Commissioner McKinley?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I have one question and then one comment. So my question to staff would be, is the 180 lives that were lost, do we know how many of those were visitors to our area or actual residents in our area?
That's a very good question. We would, we have the police reports, so we'd be able to go back and see where their main address is. That's not something, I'm not sure if it's available in a database, but we can look into it. We do have the information. It might take time to compile.
So it might be a good idea at some point if we were to meet with our Tourist Development Council or our Visitor and Convention Bureau or the Hotel and Restaurant Association and provide some materials that they can pass on to visitors to our area, kind of highlighting what the local rules or what the state rules are in terms of wearing a helmet, being in a booster seat, seatbelt laws, texting laws. Because when you're coming in here, I mean, they just released the tourism numbers yesterday. 118 million people visited Florida last year. That is a significant, and from all states and all countries, and that's a significant number of people to reach that probably do not know what the rules are locally and in the state of Florida, and some sort of partnership with our tourism agencies might help reduce some of those numbers.
I think that's an excellent idea. Thank you, Commissioner. Ms. Nielsen, I see your card up.
Thank you. And that, yeah, thank you. That's a great recommendation. It even made me think of rental car, agencies. So just wanted to thank everyone for their comments and also mention that we're here as a resource. We have an interactive map with all the crashes. We get the crashes from the state, from police reports, so they do take a little bit of time to capture them, but we are producing those quarterly reports. We have our Vision Zero action plan with and our high crash corridors already identified, and we're here to help. We're here to fund projects. We plan, prioritize, and fund the system. So we're looking at upcoming projects such as resurfacing projects and looking at opportunities to make them safer. An example is Lake Worth Road in the village of Palm Springs. We saw that as an upcoming resurfacing project. We identified it as a high crash corridor with no bike facilities and very poor pedestrian facilities. And we worked with FDOT and the local municipality. And now that project's going to have the first separated bike lanes in our county on a DOT road. So we're really excited about that with a mid-block crossing. So I just want to encourage all of you to reach out to us. We're here as a resource. We have the information. We can spend time with you. We can do walking audits. We can try to find solutions. I also want to mention that, again, we plan, prioritize, and fund projects. That funding is sometimes 3-5 years out, and it's piecemeal. It's not a magic wand across the whole county. However, we're doing what we can, but to be able to tackle this is really a 5E approach, and it's going to have to take a lot of boots on the ground, top down level and bottom up. So when we're talking about engineering, education, enforcement, encouragement, and evaluation. So when we say we want more of our municipalities to adopt Vision Zero and get on board with this, we want them to help us at their level, have a task force, work with their law enforcement, work with their schools, work with all the tools that are out there to help us at the ground level. I think as a body, as an MPO, we can also work at the state level and also at the county level with the school district and potentially mandate. It would be great if the state could mandate some sort of, I know teachers don't need another burden, but some sort of education in all the schools so that all the children are also being educated on pedestrian and bicycle safety. Miami-Dade County, they mandated a walk safety curriculum in their schools. They were one of the highest in the country for children being admitted to trauma centers while walking. And after they mandated that, a 30-minute curriculum in main class, 30-minute in art, 30-minute in PE, after 15 years, they had a 78% decrease in the number of children being hit by cars walking. So this is a multifaceted approach, and we need all our partners on deck to really make a dent in this. But we're here to be as a resource. Just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you, Valerie. And again, like you point out, it's education, not just for the motorists, but for the pedestrians using those areas. Obviously, it's a two-way street. Commissioner Waldron.
I just want to touch on some things that Mayor Grant and Commissioner McKinley touched on as well. I think that, I just I dropped off my car to get serviced at the Lexus on Okeechobee. So I walked the 3 or so miles back to Village Boulevard just to see what it was like. And it wasn't really a pleasant experience. And particularly when crossing the roads, the walk signs, and I don't walk slowly, and there's a lot of elderly people out there. By the time I got to the middle, it was already, getting ready to basically, turn yellow and flip. So that was, extending the time of walk signs shouldn't be too expensive and shouldn't be too costly to anybody. And I think that would help. And the other thing is, I come from up north, and I have to say, and my kids have noticed this too, is I've never seen more people, more cars run red lights in this area. And there is never once have I ever seen a police presence to pull them over. And I don't know if we can work with the police to encourage them to maybe do a little more traffic enforcement, because I think people know that they can run a red light and get away with it because there's nobody around, and that would help.
Yeah, well, once upon a time, we had red light cameras, but that has been ruled.
But I think, police a police presence, just, I've seen so many people run red lights. I've never seen a police pull them over.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor Weiss.
Thank you. In trying, looking at this, I mean, one of the things that we know is that utilizing cell phones, distracted driving, the impact that has. And here in the state of Florida, it goes on, and yet they ban texting. But I can't tell you how many times you see people, they're either holding their phone in their hand, talking into it. And it's clear sometimes. I mean, I've seen people on the interstate, texting while they're driving. I saw a woman the other day literally putting on her makeup going 80 miles an hour with the mirror flipped down. I mean, part of this is education, but also part of this is, I think we need to have, if we really want to be serious in this state, we need the help of our legislature to recognize the fact that utilizing cell phones is a huge distraction, and, requiring hands-free, and there are a number of states that have done it throughout the country. And with the amount of tourists, and thank you, Commissioner McKinley, for sharing that information, the amount of people coming here from other places, they're unfamiliar with our area. And at the same time, they're playing with not playing, that's not the right word. They're utilizing their cell phones, and it may be for directions or whatever, but it's still distracting. And we know the impact. So I would suggest we take a position that we request our legislature take some action, and let's just put an end to it and try and do the things we know will make it safer for everybody.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mayor Flores.
Just one last thing. As I'm looking around, I see a lot of municipalities here, but we don't have all the municipalities represented here. So my question is, I guess, to the TPA is how are we engaging with those that are not sitting here on the table? I know we have the League of Cities here, but I guess is how can we give them access? How do we involve them in Vision Zero? How do we educate them? I can tell you, even some of my council members, I've tried to explain Vision Zero to them. They don't quite understand what it entails. They don't have access to the same information here. So how do we share information across all the municipalities so we can all start working towards the same goal, at least have the same goal?
Mr. Radcliffe, I think the challenge is to allow us to make some presentations in front of your meetings so that we are incorporating not only those who are sitting at this table, but those that are sitting around your table as well.
We have 12 meetings. General membership.
Is that microphone on?
We have 12 general membership meetings a year, 10 of which have a single speaker. A lot of it is things specifically involved. So to have multitude presentations isn't realistic. We may be able to work things out. We do push all our information. TPA is a member. We work hand in hand. We also have a transportation committee. Everything we get out, we put on a Monday update. We've trained our people to look at the Monday update, go through it, and TPA has information consistently there. So we can work together. If you can, give us things that are concise, short, and we can give them out. Also, we have a transportation committee that we may be able to work some things out. We may be able to have something. And if you get it down to a specific, because you're scatting here, there's a lot of things on the table. I'm a pedestrian. Every night of my life, I take my life into my hands when I cross the 10-lane street in Palm Beach County. It's the way things
Richard,
are.
if there's a possibility maybe to add to your agenda, like you do a legal report, maybe just allocate 1 or 2 minutes for a TPA minute, and maybe we can have our interim executive director make a point of coming and just making a quick presentation of the issue of the month.
Well, I have, to have an allocation of 1 per month. I have so many organizations that have life and death messages, whether it's human trafficking, whether it's mental health. There are things we can definitely do. But I can tell you, we don't waste time. We're not redundant. And if we put something together, we will do something, but let's have the message cut down and enough where they're not playing with their phones. When we do something, we don't waste time. So we will work with you. And like I said, if because you've seen we do that, you send us everything through the TPA, but we'll work hand in hand. And like I said, I'm a pedestrian and face it every night of my life. So
Thank you.
I'm
We
a fan.
appreciate your partnership. Commissioner Lambert.
Thank you. And while I have just recently stepped off of the League of Cities Board, I do see a few other members here who are board members as well. And I would wholeheartedly suggest that, and I would second the suggestion that we have a dedicated speaker on one of those 12 speakers to the League of Cities, because I concur with Vice Mayor Weiss and Mayor Flores' comments that we need to get this information out. And if that takes all of us to be a grassroots advocate for this and to plan to speak at whatever organizations beyond our municipality that we're involved in, I think that that's how we're going to get this message out. It is majorly impacted by distracted driving, by frustrated driving, by cell phone usage. I want to say it had to have been 3 or 4 years ago when I was traveling on the West Coast of the United States. To your point, Valerie, I rented a car and they gave me a flyer when I got in that car. It may have been Vegas that I was traveling in, and they said, do not get on your phone. And I mean, they may even have not allowed headsets. It had to be completely hands-free in the car. And you knew that. And they said, you will get pulled over, you will get a ticket. We need that kind of enforcement, that kind of education in our community. And thank you so much for allowing us to have this conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Councilman Napoleon.
Thank you. I want to speak to that last point first on the tourists. I know when I travel out of state and I'm driving, I never know if I can make a right on red or not, because I know I can here, but I don't know if I can somewhere else until someone honks at me. And then I realize I probably should have turned. So that kind of education for people who are coming from different places and are driving on our roads, if we can get something to them, whether it's in their rental cars or whoever, just so they're aware of what the rules are here, it'll also help them a lot too, as well as helping to reduce accidents. But I wanted to speak on the issue raised by Commissioner Waldron about the red lights, people running red lights. I recently asked our village engineer to look into, there's technology out there, which I'm not sure how good it is yet, but it will detect with a camera on the light, cars that are clearly going to run a red light, and they'll hold the ongoing red light longer to allow, I mean, that car to run the red light. Not a good idea, but it still helps avoid the accident. And I know FDOT said they're not really sure about it yet, but they're looking at some intersections in Palm Beach County to maybe implement it as a trial. And if that's something that is effective, we'll still have people running red lights, but hopefully we'll have less fatalities because of it, because it'll stop the oncoming traffic from starting to cross, assuming they're clear. So if we can get, I don't know how deep the county is in talking to FDOT. I know FDOT said they were looking at a couple of county intersections to try it. I think they've implemented it in Lakeland. I don't know how successful yet, but if we could find out how that technology works and what it costs, maybe we can highlight some intersections where we know we have a lot of red light crashes and maybe do a trial there to see if it helps reduce accidents. That's a proactive step to take.
I appreciate that comment, and unfortunately, some of our drivers will realize there's a gap between the red light and the green light for the other direction, and now take more liberty of disregarding the red light. So, yeah, sometimes when you think
But if
you're
it keeps
fixing
people
something,
alive, that's the important thing.
yeah, well, okay. It'll be your first time around, so Councilwoman Yvonne, Yvette, wow. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple weeks ago, I think 2 weeks ago in our meeting, we had a presentation. The council requested a Vision Zero workshop. So we had that. So I think part of the Vision Zero is really educating not only our city, our residents, our tourists. So in the city of Boca Raton, we've had a lot of issues, not only with pedestrians, with bicycles, A1A, because we have a lot of tourists, but we also have a lot of new residents. There's not a day that goes by that I don't meet a new resident that just moved into the city of Boca Raton. So we're over 100,000 residents, so which is great. We also have issues with speeding down Federal Highway, down Palmetto Park Road. So we've added a lot of safety measures, and we're working with police enforcement. So back to Ms. Waldron's comment, when we get our feedback, we literally work with police officers and they patrol those areas. So our citations went up. I think we haven't had a recent report, but a few months ago, it's like 400% rise in ticketing or, observations. I'm curious, I'm going to go back and get an update for our next meeting, but it's just all of us working together to get to that part and really educating the folks out there. And I agree with Ms. McKinley, because we have a lot of new people that are in our footprint. So education. So we as a city have not adopted Vision Zero. We just had the workshop. It's education, getting people behind it, getting our city and our council. And that's kind of our goal. So
Thank you,
we'll see.
Councilmember Drucker. Commissioner McKinley.
Miss McKinley, I feel so fancy, my junior league sister. Just one final comment. We're talking a lot about law enforcement. I can tell you early last week, I was traveling south on a road through the Westgate area, and there was a police cruiser traveling east. And had I not seen a light out of the corner of my eye and tapped on my brakes, I would not be sitting here today. That law enforcement officer had no sirens. So I didn't hear it. So when I talk about partnerships, perhaps meeting with the Police Chiefs Association, not only can they protect our roads, but that having a siren on going through that intersection, I would estimate he was probably going about 70 miles an hour through that intersection in the middle of the afternoon on a weekday in a crowded area, no sirens. He was running the red light. I had a green light. I obviously, they get the right of way, but I couldn't hear him coming. So if we could reach out to them and just talk to them about their procedures, that might also keep our roads a bit safer.
Thank you, Commissioner. Would you bring it home, Ms. Nielsen?
Sure. Thank you so much for this discussion. This has been really helpful. We've heard a lot of good feedback. Again, we're happy to present, but I think the League of Cities, I mean, I know not all of our municipalities are represented on this board, but we can share information with our commissioners who can hopefully share with their municipalities, but also through the League of Cities, we can be more proactive with sharing, for example, the Vision Zero workshop that we're going to be planning, sharing this infrastructure law webinar with them so they can share that in their news, and hopefully have an opportunity at one of the meetings to come, even if it's a 5-minute presentation, to say what is Vision Zero and how are we a resource to all of you, be able to better get that information out there. I also want to just touch on the enforcement piece. Safety and Vision Zero is a top priority for not just the state, but at the federal level, as Vice Mayor Reed said. And this new infrastructure law, we're hearing that it is going to have more funding for safety, for law enforcement, because some of these efforts do require more time. So law enforcement officers may say, I don't have really time to go out there and tell people not to jaywalk or not to run the red light. But maybe there's funding sources for that. There already is some grants out there for high visibility enforcement and other things. For example, law enforcement officers having bike lights in their trunk so that when they're driving around at night and they see bicyclists that are dark and not visible, they can stop them and say, hey, it's the law to have a bike light. Here's a bike light. So there's other tactics out there. So I just want to say, again, we're here as a resource, and thank you so much for all these great recommendations that we've heard today.
Thank you. And I think this has been a worthwhile conversation, notwithstanding my request that we move quickly today. But I think that this was really a good conversation. It won't surprise you if I vote against this today, because I still think that this is a simplistic solution to a more complicated problem. I think that we need to be addressing this, and it needs incremental solutions. Obviously, seeing the numbers continue to rise as each year we say we're going to, embrace Vision Zero, demonstrates that we're doing something wrong. Notwithstanding that, I think my vote will be symbolic, and I'm sure I will probably be the only one who votes in the negative. So I'm going to look for a motion to adopt the resolution approving the 2022 safety targets.
So moved.
It's moved by my Vice
By
Mayor.
Megan.
I see a second by Vice Mayor Weiss. All in favor, all opposed, show one opposed. Thank you. And thank you for the comment.
Chair, I made a request that we get a bi-monthly report. Is that something that
Can
need to be in the resolution?
well, you won't
or-
be here to receive it, but
I'm not sure if the data is available that quickly. Because there's crash reports.
I
Yeah.
understand we're not going to get it. It's
Okay.
just that the report by the TPA is going to give it on, instead of quarterly, every 2 months, so that there's less data to compile every 3 months.
Andrew, I know you've been working on the crash reports.
Yeah, what you said is accurate, though. We typically do have a lag time with reporting on those because it takes a while to get the data in, but we can see what we can do about providing something bi-monthly.
I will expect to see your application for the CAC.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion, we have a second, and it was voted. What was the number to 1?
Hold on, I gotta flip back.
Everyone but you know who. All right, while she's trying to. pull that-
17 to 1. We had a few members step out for the vote.
Very good. Okay, let's move on to C. And this is going to be a presentation by Alyssa Frank, our ped bike coordinator. You're going to keep them alive out there, right?
Oh, yes, that's why I'm here. Thank you for the introduction. It's actually now Alyssa Goldberg. So thank you. But with that, I am here today to review and really get you guys to get a vote on the changes to the operating procedures pertaining to BTPAC. So per our strategic plan and Vision Zero action plan, we did have a couple items in there that did directly address this. In our strategic plan, action item B6 was to modify the TPA committees to support TPA initiatives. That is shown on the screen. And then also per the Vision Zero action plan to modify the TPA committees to support, again, the TPA initiatives by including Vision Zero representation, including law enforcement, health departments, fire rescue services, all of the above. So currently the TPA, we have 3 committees. The first is the Technical Advisory Committee, or the TAC. This is a committee that is required as with us being an MPO. Then we also have the Citizens Advisory Committee, or CAC. And again, this is also a required committee that is part of, being an MPO. Our third committee is Bicycle Trailways Pedestrian Advisory Committee, or the BTPAC. And this is not actually a committee that is required when you are an MPO, but it is one that we have. So we have 2 proposed changes that are actually for this committee that keep us in line with both our Vision Zero action plan and our strategic plan. The first proposed change is to actually change BTPAC's name, or Bicycle Trailways Pedestrian Advisory Committee, to actually be the Vision Zero Advisory Committee, and really addresses the purpose. We're still going to be focused on these same things, but with more of a safety lens. The second proposed change is for the committee membership, and I'm going to dive into both of these changes a little more. So the first proposed change, which was the committee name and purpose. The current name, as I said, is Bicycle Trailways Pedestrian Advisory Committee. The proposed change in the name is the Vision Zero Advisory Committee, or VZAC. And what this proposed change in the purpose is underlined on the screen, and it's really to advance those elements in the TPA's Vision Zero action plan to orient ourselves in what we do around pedestrian and bicycle safety. This is not very different from what the purpose of the committee is already. It's just really adding that language in there to reflect that we are trying to really orient ourselves to the Vision Zero action plan. And of course, we're going to continue addressing all other matters that we're directed to address by everyone in this room today. So a few examples of these sorts of committees around the country that we see, we actually have a few Vision Zero advisory committees that are popping up, and this is quickly becoming a best practice, either called advisory committee or a task force. We see this in Eugene, Oregon, Sonoma, California, DC, Omaha, Nebraska, San Francisco, around the country. And then looking more, I guess, regionally, looking at our counterparts around the state, we see a lot of bicycle pedestrian advisory committees. We see this in Miami-Dade County, we see this in Hillsborough County, and in Pinellas County. In Broward County, we see that there's actually a Complete Streets Advisory Committee, or a CSAC. And then in Oregon, there's a Mobility Advisory Committee. So all of these are, very similar committees, all focusing on pedestrian and bicycle safety. So that was the first change. The second change is actually a change to the membership. So currently on BTPAC, there is no max of members, and the existing members are on the screen. So we have, and I should note, the member is the municipality. It is the agency being represented. The representative would be the person who sits on that committee physically. So the members that we currently have on BTPAC include Boca, Boynton, Delray, Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm, Wellington, Jupiter, and that's it for municipalities. Then we have an advocacy group. We have Healthier Jupiter. We have a representative for the disabled community. And then we have 6 departments of Palm Beach County, including ERM, or Environmental Resource Management, Engineering, Planning, Parks and Rec, School District, and of course, PalmTran. And then FDOT is, of course, a non-voting member. So this is existing. What we would like to see is actually the addition of some new members to not only represent some of the municipalities that are not currently on here. We have a lot of our municipalities represented here today, but not everyone does have a representative on the BTPAC. We're also trying to add in new members for the health department, law enforcement, fire rescue services, and other active transportation advocacy groups, really trying to focus on safety and get people who, work in safety day to day to have a voice in this group as well. So this is the second proposed change. And with that, it's up to you guys on how you vote. And yeah.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I know this is going to be a lot of debate over what we should call this committee. Mayor Grant, you're first up.
Okay, thank you. The comment that I wanted to continue with the Vision Zero is the culture. That is what we have to change. One of the things that I've tried to do in the city of Boynton Beach is provide pedestrians a priority when crossing the street and not just be considered another vehicle. And it has been very difficult. I thank our interim executive director for reaching out and getting some answers within a day versus the 6 months that I have not had answers. And they're saying, yeah, well, we can put a sign that says, don't yield to pedestrians in crosswalks. And it's something where, yes, I think we do need to have signs because I believe FDOT is starting to put radar speed signs on east-west highways coming off of I-95. I know they've done that recently on Boynton Beach Boulevard. I think I've seen it on a few others. And that's where we understand that we can't overdo signs so that people aren't watching the road. But it's something where if we change the culture of allowing bicyclists and pedestrians to be a priority instead of vehicles is the main focus, I believe, of this advisory committee. So whether it's the Safety Advisory Committee or the Vision Zero Advisory Committee, those would be my two nominations for the name of this, because it's something where we need to look at the safety of everything that's going on, not just how the citizens feel the way that a new project will look, or if the project appears under a traffic engineering study to be acceptable with. And that's what I like to see, is that this voluntary advisory committee that we have here to be for safety of the people that are not in vehicles.
All right, so your suggestion is either a SAC, Safety Advisory Committee, or a VSAC.
Yes.
All right, and did you have any opinion as far as the membership of the committee?
I believe all the recommendations by Ms. Goldberg now, it would be acceptable.
Okay, Commissioner McVoy.
Yeah, I'm thinking about as you heard earlier, I'm definitely in favor of the Vision Zero as an aspiration. I'm thinking about communication within municipalities and trying to get folks involved in this. Vision Zero, I suspect, doesn't have as much resonance in people's minds as bicycle pedestrian. Everybody knows what that is. I would prefer to keep that name just to have that advocacy for that. I completely agree with some of what Mayor Grant said, that the culture, that pushing the balance between vehicles and pedestrians and bicyclists, it's been very heavily toward vehicles for forever and needs to shift. So I would be in favor of a name that keeps pedestrian and bicycle in it. In terms of membership, sort of a similar view. I certainly see the reasons for adding on some of the first responders, and I think that makes sense. But given that this is a voting committee, I would want to make sure that there are more representatives of advocacy groups, people who are actually out biking or walking or have a way to share their experience and the problems they see. You might even have something that's out of the box. The Guatemalan Maya Center in Lake Worth firsthand deals with a lot of people who are on the road, either on bikes or walking, and might be able to give a voice to some of what it looks like from their perspective.
Thank you. I will opine on this very weighty subject. I think that the VSAC probably is sufficient as far as, Vision Zero Advisory Committee, I think is a broad enough title. I see where it was a 9-6 for VSAP. I think VSAC probably is good enough. And as far as broadening the representation, I think that is certainly something I'd like to see. I don't think we have to today figure out who those representatives need to be. I think, Ms. Nielsen, you hear, or you will hear from the consensus of this board that we'd like to see broader representation, but not to get it so unwieldy that it can't get anything accomplished. That being said, do we have any public comments, Margie?
No, Mayor.
Okay, very good.
You-
Yes, when you sit right next to me,
Sorry.
the vice chair, I
I'll
just
I'll put it
sometimes.
right here.
Okay, you're
Well, I
recognized.
would like to make a motion that we change the BTPAC to the VZAC, VZAC.
I have a motion by the vice chair. Do I have a second? I have a second by Commissioner Marino. All in favor, all opposed. I'm going to show that unanimous unless someone corrects me. It's unanimous. Okay. Thank you for the conversation, and I think you have some direction as far as broadening the membership. Ms. Nielsen?
Thank you. I'm excited for this. I'm sure Mrs. Goldberg is as well for and it may be, be a bit best practice that we're setting here. I wanted to mention as Mrs. Goldberg shared on the screen, the membership, we are missing a lot of the municipalities on this board, on this committee. So we're going to send out an email to each of our board members, reminding them who our 3 committees, who their representatives are on those committees, and how, if they would like to appoint someone, how to do that. Because sometimes it's just reoccurring renewals and board members may not realize they may want someone else appointed on there. So I will be sending out that email soon. So please think of your VZAC member. for
I
that.
would just make a suggestion that you might want to incorporate in that each of the districts of the county commission have at least one person, so that we ensure that we have, again, broad base of membership, and it'll put it on each of the county commissioners to make sure at least there's one person from sections of the county. All right, that ends our action items, and we certainly have a lot more to do, but just to let you know, if we won't need a quorum going forward. So if you have other places you need to be. Moving on to item 3A. This is going to be Jason's presentation on performance measure dashboard.
Thank you all for sticking around.
See that? You should feel good. They were given the permission to leave and they're still sitting here.
So today I'm just going to go over some of the highlights to the TPA's 2021 performance measure report card. And the report card can be found on the TPA's website. And I'll provide the website link at the end of this presentation. So the first question you might ask is, why do we have performance measures? And as a federally designated agency, we're required to report and adopt federal measures and targets aligning with federal goals, and FDOT follows suit and does the same in line with federal goals. The report card is used to track a range of performance measures across modes and reflects the TPA's goals in the long-range transportation plan. And the performance measures also helps the TPA track progress towards the TPA's vision of a safe, efficient, connected, multimodal transportation system. So all of the metrics that you'll see are adopted and in our long-range transportation plan and are connected to our transportation improvement program, the 5-year program, as by way of the TPA's goals of preserve, safe, efficient, connected, and multimodal. And those are the categories that you'll see as part of our performance measure scorecard in terms of the categories that will be listed. Now I'll just go over some of the highlights for the performance measure report card. And the first one, and the most notable one, is for Palm Tran. Palm Tran introduced over 100 new buses last year, thereby reducing the percentage of their fleet that was exceeding useful life. And that's a pretty significant change of going from 46.5% of their fleet being exceeding useful life to 9.2 by the introduction of all of these these buses achieving their goal of under 10%. Now, all the rest of All the rest of the highlights are consequences of the coronavirus pandemic that significantly impacted travel throughout the county. And the first one to note is environmental impacts, and that's for daily fuel use per person and daily vehicles mile traveled. So both of these were impacted by the fewer people traveling both to work and recreationally or off-peak hours. And so, it's a positive impact for the environment of driving less. These other highlights are under the efficient category or TPA goal. And the first one is reliability, and travel reliability on both the interstate and non-interstate increased due to less people traveling throughout the county, and most notably is on the interstate. Reliability on the interstate increased from 78% to 94%, likely due to commute trips on peak hour times. And that holds true for truck travel, where truck travel will increase with fewer cars on the road. The next category is productivity, and these other highlights are direct impacts to transit, and that passenger revenue hours were reduced due to limited service and reduced ridership on both Tri-Rail and Palm Tran throughout Palm Beach County. And those impacts are listed here on the screen on the bottom right. Those are all of the highlights that I have for you for the performance measure scorecard. If you want to learn more, you can go to palmbeachtpa.org/PM. And when you click on that, you'll see our scorecard and all of the metrics that we track. Each one of those metrics are highlighted, so you can click on each one of them and get additional information on a number of years going back and what the trends are, as well as geographic maps. If there's a geographic location for specific metrics, you can see where they are located throughout the county and some of the methodology and understanding what the metric means and how it's calculated. And with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. We appreciate that report. And I'm looking around the room. Nobody seems to be eagerly jumping. Margie, do you have any public comment?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. So we will move on to our next item. That is item 3B, Florida Bicycle Month. How exciting. Ms. Goldberg.
I'll be quick and it's exciting. So a lot of you have seen me up here before every, February, March. March is February, Florida Bicycle Month. So we're going to get very excited.
March is February.
It's February too. Yes. So there are 4 ways to get involved in Florida Bike Month. The first is to join our ride. We are doing our annual TPA bike ride on Friday, March 11th. We're going to start here at our office, leave at 8 a.m. So if you're going to join us, try to get here at like 7:45 to sign in and liability forms and all of that fun stuff. But it is about 3.5 miles and 30 minutes. I'm going to dive into that again in a couple of slides. So
Last bridge is a killer.
different route, no bridges and lighter bikes this year.
Okay.
So I'm setting everyone up for success. The second way to get involved is through our webinar series that we're going to be hosting. Again, I'm going to dive into that one in a couple slides as well. Sign a proclamation if you have not done one. I have a slide for that, and get outside and get riding. So all of this information is available on our website, palmbeachtpa.org/walkbike. If you do walk bike Palm Beach TPA or walk bike palmbeach.org, also it will direct you to that site. And if you want to just reach out to me as well, I can help you there too. So for proclamations, in 2021, we received 13 proclamations. Those municipalities are on the screen. We did one. Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners did one. Boca, Boynton, Delray, Green Acres, Jupiter, Lake Park, Palm Beach Gardens, Palm Springs, Royal Palm Beach, Wellington, and West Palm Beach. out of all of those, I have gotten confirmation that all of them will be doing a proclamation again this year, except for the 3-starred locations on there, which I will be following up with everyone for that. So that is Boca, Boynton, and Green Acres. If you guys, if you guys have it on the agenda, just send me the date and I would be more than happy to update this. And also, we could even get a staff member there to accept the proclamation on our behalf. So just let me know.
Thank you, Alyssa. We appreciate that.
First.
We'll have a photo op next meeting at 9 a.m. with our proclamations in hand. So please be on time. Commissioner McKinley.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should do a contest of which county commission district can get the most municipalities in their district to do a proclamation. So
Wait a minute, I had the most municipalities in my district, so I think I've got an advantage here.
just a challenge there.
It's a
Mr. Mayor
challenge. It's a
Wilson.
challenge. All right.
That'll help us.
All right, we again, 9 a.m. next meeting, we're going to have a photo op, so be here or be square. Miss Mayor Grant, you can come on by and, just join us. All right.
That'll
Thank
help
you.
us. Oh, sorry.
No,
Sorry.
go for it.
That'll help us get to our goal of 15 proclamations. If we exceed that, even better. I would love to exceed that.
All right, we could get 2 from the county.
Let's do it. So for our live webinar schedule, we will have 3 webinar sessions. The first one is going to be, thank you guys. The first one is going to be on Thursday, March 3rd in the afternoon from 2 to 3. This is going to be an overview presentation of safe bicycling, the ABCs of bicycling, helmet fitting, all of that. So how to do it safely, where to ride, all of that. The second is going to be on Wednesday, March 9th. And these are with our partners, the Dutch Cycling Embassy, and an author of Building Cycling Cities, Chris Brentlett, is going to present on how we can build cycling cities, and really just the policies and the engineering behind all of it, and what we can learn from our partners around the world. The third webinar is going to be on Tuesday, March 15th. And this is actually a really interesting one. They're all really interesting, but this one's great. Bikeonomics. So it's really about, learning about the economics that building bicycling infrastructure can, improve in a community. So it's really good. This one is interesting because the presenter is not actually from a bicycle friendly area. So this presenter is actually from Italy, where the crash rates, fatality rates, all of that actually mirror ours here in Florida. So this is going to be very interesting for all of the municipalities who aren't so sure on, whether or not bicycle infrastructure is worth it. That'll help answer those questions. Again, we are going to be doing our TPA ride on Friday, March 11th, leaving at our office. We're going to end at West Palm Beach City Hall. It's about 3.5 miles, 30 minutes. We tested it out during the time frame. It's perfect. We will have bicycles available. We're actually going to be working with Bright Bike because they will be up and running by then. So they are going to be bringing a couple bikes by, and we are going to make sure that we have more than last year, and enough for anyone who doesn't have a bike or can't bring their bike. But I really hope that all of you guys can join us. And of course, if you are unable to join us, I definitely encourage everyone to host their own local rides. And so this is the route for the ride. So we're going to be highlighting just a few destinations in downtown West Palm Beach. Start at our office, go up Clematis, so we get to ride down that really nice facility. Then we're going to go right by Brightline, maybe stop and take a picture. And then from there, we're going to go through Rosemary Square and then back down Fern and the green bike lanes on Flagler to ride the very nice shared use path along the water, and then right up Olive to the celebration at West Palm Beach City Hall. If you guys do plan to join, please RSVP so that way I can make sure we have a t-shirt and a bike for you if you need. And if you have a bike and you want to bring your own, awesome. And then of course, we are doing the Love to Ride challenge again this year. This is the first year that Love to Ride is doing a challenge for Florida Bicycle Month. Oops. So this challenge is going to be occurring from March 1st to 31st. It's really just meant to get you on the bike, riding, you log miles, you get to challenge people in a fun way. And honestly, it's a great way to win some awesome prizes. So I highly encourage everyone to participate in this and, challenge your peers. It's a great opportunity. It's a lot of fun. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. If any pop up at any later point, feel free to reach out to me.
Let's call it Love to Ride Safely.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, very good. All right. I think we are done with that subject. Let's move on to C. I'm going to put Commissioner Marino on the spot for Palm Tran, or Tri-Rail, I'm sorry. And can you tell us just a little bit about what's going on down in Miami, and also as far as the executive director, if there's anything that you can, you know,
Opine
the
on?
police report, I mean, not the police reports, the press reports are a little bit confusing as far as what's going on with our executive director.
Well, right now, Brightline and Tri-Rail are working hand in hand to remedy the situation at the station where the Tri-Rail and Brightline trains will be. Because as you may have read in the paper, the trains don't fit. It's not that the trains don't fit, it's that where the stairs or the level boarding is to occur, there is some misalignment would be a good word. But Brightline and Tri-Rail are working. As a matter of fact, we had an open meeting yesterday, day before. Gosh, this week has gone by so fast about that. And they're actually working faster than they had originally planned. So that's good news. As for our executive director, that's in limbo at the moment. So nothing to report there. And as I do get information, I will be happy to share.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Marino. Mr. Bonlaren, I see you're in the audience. You have anything to bring to our attention?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick Palm Tran update for you. I do have some good news to report, and that is that for January of 2022, Palm Tran saw a 13.5% increase in our ridership. We were up 575,000 riders to 507,000 riders for the same period in 21. For the fiscal year that started last year in October, we are also up overall 15.3%. As a whole, transit is still down just over 31%. So we are still, working hard to bring those riders back to our transit system. And Mr. Forbes and his team have got a lot of creative ideas that they're working to do that. Our Paradise Pass that we released recently, we have over 10,000 accounts now that have come in through that Paradise Pass. So we're excited about our new opportunities to pay for rides. Of those, over 3,500 of those are cards themselves, and over 8,600 of them are apps that people can use when they board our buses. Also, Palm Tran, if you see out on the roads celebrating Black History Month, we have our wrapped bus. So if you see that, please take photos of that. Please post it to your social media accounts. We're very proud of our continued involvement in Black History Month. And also last month, we participated with our pink bus in the Susan Komen walk. So thank you again for all of your support. That's it. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Todd, thank you. Yes, Commissioner McKinley.
Yes, Todd, if you haven't done so already, could you introduce, or she's not here, but talk about the new hire at Palm Tran?
So we do have a new hire at Palm Tran. Deborah Posey Blocker is, we brought in from former Congressman, the late Alcee Hastings' office. And she is going to be heading up some of our government affairs and working with us on the federal side. She's actually up in Tallahassee this week for TD Day with Mr. Chase, working on some of our legislative agenda. But we're really excited about her being on board. She's going to help us out a lot with coordination of some of our ARPA grants that we're applying for as well for some of the competitive funding. She was a great get for us. Has over 20 plus years of experience in Washington, D.C. And I'm excited for you to see her as a face here at the TPA, and she'll be here quite frequently. So thank you, Commissioner McKinley, for that.
Thank you, Todd. We appreciate that update. Mayor Grant.
So
want to make sure we don't forget you.
Yes, I'm one of those people who did get the Paradise Pass. The situation that happened is that I didn't know that there was an expiration of 5 minutes for the Paradise Pass. And so the bus was late and I had to spend again. Am I able to get a refund for the bus being late?
Yeah, we can work on that for you. Although within 5 minutes, we don't consider that late.
And so that is one of the things. And then also on the Palm Tran Service Board, I was just notified that they're not having their meeting this month. And so hopefully you'll have let me know of the presentation regarding how we are helping ending the digital divide for paratransit riders in this county, because I feel that the $50 that the $50+ the county spends for each Palm Tran rider, if we can find a way to use that money ad valorem tax more effectively by providing a similar service and reasonable accommodation, I think is a well use of all of our taxpayer money.
Thank you, Mayor, and our team is working on an update for you on that subject. So we appreciate your advocacy.
Yeah,
on that.
I'll
It's
give you
very
my new email address. So
Perfect.
Thank you again, Mayor and Todd. Ryan, anything from the senator's office that you'd like to present, or? If you're going to come, we're going to, have you come on up and say hi.
Hi. So I just want to make sure, all the municipalities and also some that aren't even here, just to let them know, we are here for grant support. I know, other congressmen do it out there too. It never hurts to have just one more. Some of the smaller municipalities don't have a strong team that goes doing that. Some of the bigger ones do, but I encourage you guys to go out and encourage everybody else to find a way to kind of put those out there, especially for some of the stuff, TPA and the MPO down in Broward. So, my office is here. If you can always get a hold of me. It's my office is in City Hall, West Palm. So if you don't have my cell, I'm sure probably half the people in here do. And it's my personal cell, and you guys are welcome to call. If I'm awake, I'm answering. Hey, Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. We appreciate it. Vice Chair Reed, would you like to give us an update on the MPOAC meeting that you attended on my behalf?
Yes, it was a long day. I actually got to sit in on all the meetings just to try to learn as much as I could. But what I want to bring back to our TPA board is that we did vote to join something called the Mileage-Based User Fee Alliance, which will cost our TPA $185 a year. And the Mileage-Based User Fee Alliance looks into methods of planning around ACEs, which is autonomous, connected, and electric vehicles, as we have less gas taxes and less vehicles utilizing gas. So it's something that we're just watching. We're not necessarily endorsing what they're doing. The governing board also decided to possibly do an annual field trip. So that would affect primarily you or Commissioner Marino. I think you guys are the ones who generally go. So maybe aim for that December meeting. It sounds like they have something fun. And that also the dues will be increasing next year for all TPAs and MPOs.
Thank you very much. And thank you for taking that trip up with Valerie to make sure that we were properly represented.
Ooh, and we did see the Bright Line being built in Orlando, which was
Okay,
actually,
all
I'm happy
right.
to share pictures of that.
They did it safely without anybody getting in the way. Okay. The Super Bowl this year, I took note of the fact of the number of EV commercials on the Super Bowl. And if anybody knows me, I'm a real proponent of electric vehicles, autonomous vehicles. So it's coming. So anybody else, as far as an agency update, seeing nobody run to the microphone, we're going to move on to administrative items. Valerie, you want to take routine TPA reports?
Sure. These are items that are in the backup of the agenda. If anyone would like us to bring them up or talk further about them, it's kind of consent information that we bring. It includes our public involvement activity reports for December and January, our FDOT scheduling report, our projects that are hitting the ground. So it's a list of all the projects. They were already prioritized in our 5-year program, but now they're starting to hit the ground in terms of kickoff meetings, in terms of letting the project and all of that. So we want to make you aware of that. If you have any questions, we can follow up with us and we can provide you more information. And then our Q2 for fiscal year 2022 fiscal and travel reports. That's our finances as an agency on a 2-year budget, but reporting for this year in that quarter. We report monthly to FDOT, but we wanted to provide that to the board as well. If there are any questions, we're happy to discuss them here or as a follow-up after this meeting.
Okay, well, we did it. We are getting out of here before 11 o'clock today. So congratulations, everybody. We will be back here on St. Patrick's Day. Wear your green and be here at 9 o'clock. We are adjourned.